Hey, my lovely friends. Today we're going to learn more vocabulary with David Wallace. The book that I recommend reading is Infinite Jest, and the word jest could serve as the first vocabulary word of the lesson, which is a playful remark, a joking comment. Infinite Jest, a marvelous novel to check out. Anyways, today we're going to learn more vocabulary with this eminent author. Let's do this.
It's sort of embarrassing to read this book. You can almost chart when the essays were written because the first couple don't have any, but the footnotes get very, very addictive. I mean, it's almost like having a second voice in your head.
But where does it come from? I mean, I'm now on page 981 of Infinite Jest, and the footnotes run, notes and errata run to page, you may know the answer to this, but...
So there are numerous footnotes. These are little notes that are at the bottom of the pages, and the interviewer is picking him up on the sheer number of footnotes. The expression that we're learning is to pick someone up in this context is to maybe criticize someone, to say something that might come across as critical, to pick someone up.
There are 200...
yes, but the reader doesn't experience them that way because the endnote tags are in the text.
304 footnotes, sir.
There are quite a few. Some of them are very short. Some of them are only one line long. It is a way... Let's see,
This is what?
Well, I'm just going to look pretend.
Okay, so that comment seems to have rubbed him the wrong way. He seems a little ticked off. When you are ticked off, when a comment rubs you the wrong way, it annoys you, it bothers you, and it seems like the fact that the interviewer pointed out the huge number of footnotes has annoyed him.
Just talking about this.
Quit worrying about how you're going to look and just be.
I've got news for you. Coming on a television show stimulates your what am I going to look like gland like no other experience.
So he uses a humorous term there. He says coming on this television show stimulates your what am I going to look like gland. What is a gland? Like your thyroid gland. But in this context, he is talking about coming across as pretentious, or worrying about what you say too much or how you are going to come across. So he says, coming on this television show is going to stimulate what you're going to look like gland.
May now be such a veteran that you're like, you don't notice it anymore.
He says you might be such a veteran. A veteran is a seasoned individual, is a person who has a lot of experience. And especially we use this word to talk about someone who has a lot of experience in the army or in the military, but it can also be applicable to other areas. Veteran.
Confront your own vanity when you think about going on TV.
You confront your own vanity. Vanity is being obsessed with yourself, and the adjective is vain. So you are confronted by your vanity. You are faced with your vanity. Let's go back and hear these words one more time.
Your what am I going to look like gland like no other experience. You may now be such a veteran that you're like, you don't notice it anymore. You confront your own vanity when you think about going on TV. So no apologies, but just that's an explanation. The footnotes there's a way that it seems to me that reality is fractured right now, at least the reality that I live in.
So he says that there is a way where reality is fractured. It is split into many different pieces. Fracture as a verb and fractured as an adjective. Reality is fractured. It is split. It is divided.
The difficulty about writing about that reality is that text is very linear and it's very unified. And I, anyway, am constantly on the lookout for ways to fracture the text that aren't totally disoriented.
So he wants to organize the text in a way which is still cohesive narrative, a story that makes sense, but also reflects this fractured reality.
You can take the lines and jumble them up, and that's nicely fractured, but nobody's going to read it, right?
So nobody would read a story which is too fractured and would be too confusing to follow and it wouldn't tell a cohesive story.
So there's got to be some interplay between how difficult you make it for the reader and how seductive it is for the reader, so the reader's willing to do it.
And you want to also make it somewhat seductive, attractive, alluring. So this is the appeal, the attraction of that story, of the plot.
The endnotes were, for me, a useful compromise, although there were a lot more when I delivered the manuscript. And one of the things that the editor did for me was had me pare the endnotes down to really the absolutely essential.
Who's your editor?
His name is Michael Peach.
So the editor got rid of a number of endnotes. The editor made sure that the endnotes were trimmed out just to the essential ones.
Spelled Pietsch, not like the fruit. Senior editor at Little Brown and a fine individual.
What did it do to you? Newsweek, truly remarkable. What weird fun Infinite Jest is to read. The New York Times, uproarious. It shows off Wallace as one of the big talents of his generation, a writer of virtuistic talents who can seemingly do anything. That's the way I feel about you. I mean, I'm a little bit...
So that is a glowing review, a review that lauds or praises David Wallace as a novelist.
I mean, I hear a brain at work there. Sort of, where do you want it to go? What is it?
I think not exploding would be a nice start. That kind of stuff, I dissociate very well.
Yeah.
And
when you dissociate, you detach. So you try not to be too emotionally impacted or affected by something. Dissociate. He says, I dissociate very well. I try to remain objective and perhaps not too emotionally engaged.
And it's a useful talent. Writing for publication is a very weird thing because part of you is a nerd and you want to sit in libraries, you don't want to be bothered and you're very shy, and another part of you is the worst ham of all time. Look at me, look at me, look at me. And you have fantasies about writing something that...
So part of you may be a little vain that always goes like a little song or hymn. Look at me, look at me, look at me.
It makes everybody drop to one knee, you know, like Al Jolson or something. Of course, you never get it as much as that part wants, but to get a little bit of it is very, very strange because very often for me, I didn't read a whole lot of the reviews, but a lot of the positive ones seemed to me to misunderstand the book. I wanted it to be extraordinarily sad. And
so it sounds like a lot of the positive reviews were written by people who misunderstood the messages or the ideas that he wanted to communicate in his books.
And not particularly postmodern or jumbled up or fractured. And most of the people, the reviewers who really liked it seemed to like it because it was funny or it was erudite or it was interestingly fractured. So
the last word of today's lesson is erudite. You can use this word to describe a person who is very sharp-minded. They have a lot of knowledge or something which is very stimulating intellectually. Erudite. Anyways, I hope you've enjoyed this video lesson. Let me know in the comments section. Don't forget to share and like. Catch you in the next video.